What's up everyone, Lethal Concept here, back again. This is going to be the intro video for my start of the new series called A to Z Playthrough. So A to Z Playthrough is pretty self-explanatory. It's just playthrough for all the classes. Now this will also be a bit of a class overview of what the class's playstyle is about. So I want to do a playstyle video for every class, but I also want to use as a variety of different weapons as possible, which is why I made the video before the weapons tier list, class overview, and trying to get a weapon for every class. I had dirt in that video. If you rewatch it, I actually missed the human adept, and so the hurricane was actually on my Krogan engineer. So what I did is I put the hurricane on my adept, and then I moved the Krogan engineer to have a revenant instead. So the revenant should fill the same role, especially I'll go into it when I get to the Krogan engineer. Anyways, also I had to make a change. I used to have scattershot for both the human vanguard and the Asari duelist, but I changed it so the Asari duelist has scorpion. I removed this scorpion from my human sentinel and gave him sidewinder. So it still kind of plays the same way, but I'll go more into the playstyles into this video. So class overview, different variety of weapons, A to Z playthrough basically. So for the human soldier, if you move this across human soldier, so why I have the raptor is raptor paired with disruptor ammo makes it very potent when you use concussive shot with repeat concussions for detonations. And if you've seen in some of my gameplay, raptor with turbocharge, you will drop a berserker in 2 clips, and obviously you're firing really fast. Those 2 clips go by in like 1 second. You just drop a berserker really fast. So that's the playstyle with that. You just basically are a very fast gunner, but raptor's really good, especially with turbocharge, and you just kill things really fast, and you just have a lot of detonations with concussive shot. For the next one we have the Vanguard. Vanguard is pretty standard scatter shot with melee optimizer. Obviously with the new changes to melee, you're playing more conservative. Okay, so I get a lot of sayings like, why aren't you playing more aggressive with stuff like your Vanguard or your Krogan Vanguard or your Asari Duelist or the Krogan Gladiator? Like, why aren't you just going in melee and crap out of everything? I like to play a bit more conservative. I take into account my teammates, what characters they have, what weapons they have, which dictates where they're going to probably be. For example, if they're using a sniper rifle, they're most likely going to be in the back. I like to take into account where enemies spawn, how they're going to rush my teammates. I like to be in the way. I don't like to be across the map, because if I go down, it makes it harder for them to res, and if they go down, if I'm across the map charging and meleeing everything, it makes it harder for me to res them. So I like to play a bit more conservative, and that's basically my Vanguard. It's just the standard Vanguard. Now, human engineer, I do have the Inferno. Now, there are two playstyles for the engineer. First is the very standard, pretty much see this on every video. It's the max cryobeam, max overload, and the shatter cryobeam for snap freeze, which in turn just blasts everything with snap freeze to deal a large large amount of AoE damage. The second playstyle, which is my playstyle, and which is born out of patch 1.5, basically the very beginning, where combos were crap, assault was crap back then. So what I did is I maxed overload for jumps to stun as many targets as possible. Now with assault turret being buffed, I get Omnilink, I get power efficiency, and I just chain stun everything with debuffs. And when you stun that many enemies that frequently with your recharge speed, you get a lot of headshot opportunities or free shots basically. So the old playstyle I had me using Vanquisher, but obviously I'm using a different weapon for every different class. So Inferno, because you don't run on any power cell abilities, you run on cooldowns. So Inferno's obviously infinite shots, since it's one of the NG weapons that reloads by itself or refills its ammo. Okay, Adept, might as well go Adept. So I tried a full biotic detonation in a test video. If you guys saw it, it was a human adapt biotic, full biotic damage with Disciple. So what I find is that to kill an unshielded Mook, you actually need to detonate the Singularity. It won't actually kill the Mook with the biotic detonation. So what that means is I didn't like the idea of detonating Singularity just to kill Mooks inside the blast because my shockwave detonation didn't kill him. So instead I reverted back to my full, mostly CC based playstyle. Hurricane's really good because it means you have an alternate combo. Instead of a Singularity and Shockwave, you have a Hurricane priming, so on shielded enemies, on armored enemies you can Shockwave and create a tech combo field. And you play a very CC based heavy style, stagger based heavy style as well. And that's pretty much the basis of my human adapt. For the Sentinel, I am using the Sidewinder. Now my previous playstyle, or my previous two playstyles, was that I'd have Barricade maxed for electric defense and throw and energy drain as detonators, and I just detonate the crap out of everything when I place Barricade after charging in. And because you have tech armor, your tech armor helps you survive when you rush in like that. Energy drain helps refuel your shields, and Barricade keeps them off you. And then a really cool thing is that because I used to use the Scorpion, I can't find it right there, Scorpion. So that means I could fire over the Barricade without exposing myself, because Scorpion, obviously, it's like the Falcon, projectile, and deals damage as a blast, so you don't need to aim, you can just fire over the Barricade. And this makes it very potent because you have the helpful regeneration of energy drain, Barricade to keep things off you, and you're staying in cover so bullets don't hit you. And it's really fun. Obviously I'm using the Sidewinder. I did use the Yosef before, that meant that if you used energy drain and throw on targets that are too far away for a Barricade to stun, you still got the combo of energy drain to throw for long range targets, and you're using Yosef to pick them off. Obviously Sidewinder didn't get changed much, so it's still a decent pistol, obviously outshined by Yosef obviously nowadays, but it's still decent to use, so it's, yeah, it'll still be decent to use. Nothing much to talk about the human infiltrator. The only thing I can say is that with the Vanquisher you can use the Valiant. It's just that when I first leveled the infiltrator, I've just gotten used to the Vanquisher, and that's why I keep using it. It's still pretty decent. Obviously the other option is Valiant. So basically I have about 300 or 200-ish less damage, one extra bullet, and about the same fire rate. You do have a bit of kick with the Valiant, and I did some testing earlier and it doesn't reset back to its normal position. It moves up ever so slightly from the kick, but it's still decent. So Vanquisher, Valiant, still the same. Sorry. Excuse me. Still the same playstyle: Max Sticky Grenades, Tactical Cloak, Snipe. Now for the uncommons, Turian Soldier. So this is the definition of a weapons-based build that I would have. Used to use the Revenant and the Raptor, using the Cyclone because it's actually much better than the Revenant now. Indra's obviously a very good stand-in for a Raptor, more ammo, and obviously that synergizes a lot better with Turbocharge. Because these two have fairly larger ammo than their counterparts, Cyclone over the Revenant, Indra over the Raptor, it means you can actually pick up Turbocharge with Supercharge instead of Dump Heat, and this means you do a lot more damage. Obviously this becomes even more potent if you use a Incendiary over Disruptor, because you have no way to detonate it, unlike the human soldier. Also got Fortify to help just tank damage. Very weapons heavy, very strong. Nothing much to say about the Krogan Vanguard. Excuse me. So I charge into headbutt will one-shot standard mooks. So you have to Disciple really. So the scatter shots, so you can spam away without having to worrying to reload. Since your melee won't one-shot with charge into melee. Krogan Vanguard, you can. So the Disciple is there to deal that damage against armored or shielded targets, so you don't one-shot with your charge into melee. And obviously Disciple is a kind of like big damage, but it's not like, it's big damage compared to like Scattershot, but it's not as limiting as ammo. If you picked up the Ruzad or the Dun, it's 6 shots, so it's still pretty lenient on if you're shooting a lot. So yes, I like that because I want a weapon that has a lot of ammo, because what you'll find is if you shoot something and you charge and you have no clip, the character tries to reload if you don't mash melee, so that can be detrimental for you. Next character is the Krogan Engineer. So yes, the Krogan Engineer, what I did say about the playstyle is a lot of people will play at using like both of these, Overload and Incinerate, as both detonators and primers, and then obviously if you see a shielded target, Overload into Incinerate. If you see an armored target, Incinerate into Overload, and you do those kind of alternate combinations depending on the enemy. I find that a bit wasteful because Overload and Incinerate both have kind of like CC animations that then force the enemy to go through. So with Overload you have the stun animation, and for Incinerate you got the burning animation. Now if you use these both in tandem, you just stack them inefficiently. So what I do, instead of using them as combos, I spread them out. So what happens is I overload them, still applies the debuff, and with a fast firing weapon like a Revenant, because they're stunned, they should be fairly easy to kill. And what you do is you use a fast firing weapon with disruptor ammo to still do damage, strip the shields completely if they still have shields from your overload, and then you detonate with Incinerate, and you make them go through the full animation of the stun animation, and then you apply the fire animation. So this is good for helping you take down armored targets that are a bit beefier, especially with the patch 1.0 8 or 7, where they got their 30 or to 20% health armor increase on things like the Anarchists or Outlaws. So yeah, otherwise if you just did Incinerate into Overload, you just make them go through 1 CC animation, and if you don't kill them fast enough, like if you get rushed, so you know it's just wasteful of CC animation. So yeah, that's a playstyle. Overload, start shooting them, and because your Revenant is primed with disrupt ammo, you're still priming them, you still get that tech detonation, which is really helpful, and then you detonate with Incinerate at the end, and then they go through the fire animation. Easy pickings, pretty much. Obviously you got the Asari, I might as well just keep my Word document here. Asari Sentinel, so I just use this, I don't completely neglect Backlash, but I just play her as a combo heavy build, recharge and combo damage, and you just go energy drain, throw, any targets still alive, pick them off with Yushi headshots. That's basic playstyle, nothing much more to say about that. For the Solarian Infiltrator, they might change it so that the Solarian Infiltrator's passive that gives 30% weapon damage when you use the power. It used to only proc off energy drain, I'm pretty sure. Now it procs off sticky grenade and energy drain, and I think tactical cloak as well. So what this means, it's very potent on something that gives you power cell abilities like the Shock Trooper, the one that gives extra shotgun damage and +1 power cells. So really good to take advantage with that is the shotgun. And then you deal so much damage because Piranha's a really high damage weapon if you get up close, and you can get up close because you got tactical cloak, you got energy drain to keep you healthy, and you got sticky grenades to do a lot of damage, and also to constantly proc that plus 30% weapon damage. So yeah, that's the playstyle for that. Now the Asari Adat got changed a bit and got her health nerfed a bit. So her used to go to, was it? Sorry, I'm trying to think. Her used to go to playstyle is you pick Annihilation with shield replenish on kills, and then you use Lancers as a detonation, and you upgrade that to use shields. So you just constantly apply shields, constantly just detonate crap. I actually played her a bit differently, and because with her nerf to health and shields, I think and she's really squishy, like less than 500, less than 300 or so shields against some like 600, almost 400, you know. Obviously this character is different because you got constant energy drains, but yes. So yeah, I actually go for a kind of float heavy builds on mooks, and still detonation heavy, but just not infinite, with Lance shield, Lance and Annihilation shield recover. I forgot what the upgrade is, but so I still go for Vortex, and what I do is I dash from cover to cover. Now Saris have one of the longest dashes, so you can actually do this pretty well. And then I proc Throw and Lance. Well, I have Throw for recharge and detonation. Now what I do is I have the equalizer, so any mooks that are red health will just get picked up. Easy killings, you don't need to use your detonations, you just use equalizer. Infinite ammo, just kill things off easily. And then if you get up to a shielded target, detonation, then they float because your detonation just gets rid of the shields. Then easy pickings with equalizer. If you go up against armor targets, you still have a pretty hefty damage increase because you're still picking up exposed, the plus 20% damage from being in the annihilation field, and you still got like really good detonation damage because I pick up Throw with detonation. And then obviously you got equalizer to finish them off when they get staggered from that detonation. So yeah, that's the playstyle I go for. And obviously anything charging at you, trying to grapple you, will just float because you got Annihilation Vortex instead of the Annihilation Shield recharge on kill. Okay, so first off I'll say the two playstyles for the Turin Havoc and Krogan Mercenary are pretty similar for me. And that is because they got pretty similar kits. Okay, first off I'll tell you how I play them and then I'll explain. Krogan Mercenary, I do opt to use a Riga Carbine. I do know it causes frame rate issues on PC, but I find it really hard. So I'm using obviously a Shock Trooper for both of them because Flat Cannon is I think it's overpowered, honestly. It does so much. It does so much. You get like 11, and then if they stun, they pretty much almost strip the shields off any targets. And you can just constantly do dots, and stacking their dots with your fire skills, Incinerate for the Turin Havoc, Flamethrower for the Krogan Mercenary, means you just do so much damage at a time and do so much damage, and you got a lot of CC with 11 flat cannons. So yes, obviously using, well, obviously Soned, I'm not using the Shock Trooper, using something else. But yeah, Riga Carbine. It's the only shotgun. I don't want to use a Ruzad, I don't want to use anything else, so yes, Riga Carbine. Now, I am using the Soned, and if you're wondering why I'm not using a shotgun like I am using for the Krogan Mercenary, is because Krogan Mercenary, Flamethrower is channeled, with the Turin Havoc Incinerate is not. It's just like a fire and forget. Well, obviously not fire and forget, you're still aiming, but yes. So I can just Flat Cannon Incinerate, do that in like 1 second and start turbocharge firing. With the Krogan Mercenary, obviously I'm flat cannoning, and if I'm Flamethrower, I may want to channel that for a bit, and obviously with a charge up on Soned, you just want, it doesn't matter as much because something is stunned, but if you're Flamethrowing, it may matter to actually have a fast firing weapon, which is why I picked up the Riga Carbine, which is fast firing, does good damage, and obviously with Fortify and Stun, you can get in close. Now, if you look at the health on the Turin Havoc, it's so 880, almost 900, 600 shields. Almost as much as Krogan Mercenary. Obviously, Krogan Mercenary has more health, just less shields, so it's just like reversed. But yes, this means I am not playing the damage resistant hover builds. And the reason is because I find that it works in certain situations and doesn't work in others. So you can get easily focused fired on very kind of like exposing maps. Sorry, let me just click back there. On very exposed heavy maps, like if you're hovering over, for example, Fire-based Sandstorm, there's like maybe 2 sharpshooters over there, 2 raiders over there, and they all start shooting at you, your shields will drop, and when you land on the ground, that damage resistance means nothing to you. means nothing to you. And so what I'd rather have is the health and shields, because health and shields matter whether you're in the air or on the ground. But you still pick up some damage resistance, because one of the upgrades is damage resistance versus melee, and you're not going to be meleeing, so you still get a bit of damage resistance, but you're rounding it well because you've got so much health and shields. So that's why I opt for this kind of gun heavy, still on the ground playstyle for the Turin Heavy Trooper. I'm sorry, Huntress, you will see a gameplay of this with a bit more with reasoning as well in my Apex mission. So I went with the Ishiray, and the reason I went with the Ishiray is because I play this class as a support. I play her in the backline because, as you can see, her health and shields are low. So there are two playstyles with this as well. You can play her with a weapon, fast firing weapon with priming, using your two detonators to create explosions. Or how I play her, which is probably a bit unconventional, but I use the Ishiray is because it's a one-shot sniper rifle, and because it makes me reload after every shot, or I have to reload after every shot, I can see the map better than if I was just firing on an enemy and just focus firing the enemy down. So a lot of times I see a lot of times that when I'm shooting a high value target like a Fiend and my allies are shooting with it, because I'm further behind, since I'm staying further back with the sniper rifle, I can see a lot of times that my allies are getting charged from like wraiths or like doggies, and they're about to get breached with breachers. And so I got like double throw, and this helps me CC them to keep them off my allies. And I can look around, when I'm reloading, I can look to see which enemies are primed, and then I can use throw and lance for detonations. So it's really helpful because it forces you to get out of your scope, and then you use that time to look around the map to provide support for your teammates. That's basically it. And you'll see how effective or how useful this is in my Apex mission. And you're still doing a lot of damage because stealth grid into Ishiray just one-shot stuff if you get the headshot off. So yeah, very fun. Now I am using the Hornet for the Hungarian Insurgent. Now there are also two playstyles, one unconventional and kind of like funny tacky, and the other one's the standard safe pick. So it's to do with Trip Mine. Trip Mine on rank 6 either becomes an AoE detonator or an AoE primer, and the primer stuns them, so it's the preferred safe pick. However, if you pick the detonator, it's actually really fun if you got like a prime heavy build, because those detonations just chain and it goes insane. And I find I had a really good time because the canisters, if they get caught in the blast, it detonates canisters as well. And I just see a lot of detonations. I'm like, wow, I just can't believe I got detonations there from placing random trip mines. And what you would do is you could contest anything because you like shield boost you up if you take damage. You pick a prime heavy weapon or a fast firing weapon that allows you to prime fast. You prime them, you trip mine on their feet, and the trip mine detonates the explosion. And obviously because it has a large explosion, it damages everything else. And yeah, you're basically playing a pseudo self detonator with trip mine. Pretty fun build, and obviously you can hunker down really well as well, because trip mine still damages if you prime them and then walk through it. Detonation, combo field, yeah. But the safer pick obviously is still going with the priming stun function instead of the detonating. So Hornet's just a really good, well-rounded weapon at all ranges. If you don't pick up the scope, because the scope obviously zooms you in, you don't have the claustrophobic zoom in of a sniper rifle, and it still does pretty decent amount of damage. So yeah, that's the reason why I picked up that. Solarian Architect. I played around with both Remnant versions. I prefer the missiles because the missiles still stagger, and I picked up Beam because it primed and staggers, but you already got the stunning stagger. Well, you got the stagger, so it's a stagger versus stun. They're both CC, so you still got the CC effect. You just got a boatload more damage, 450 compared to obviously your weak beam damage. And yeah, Barricade specking for sorry, electric defense. Incinerate for detonator because that's your only reliable detonator. And Remnant can sometimes get a lucky detonation on the barricade. I don't manually target my Remnant. I'm lazy. I just rather focus on shooting. So that's the reason there. I picked a weapon that can be used without having to peek over cover. So I picked up the Falcon because you can fire it over cover. You can also fire it and angle it so it bounces off walls and hits targets around cover. So it's good because the Solarian Architect obviously doesn't have energy drain, doesn't have a tech armor, doesn't have any damage resistance, doesn't have any way to restore shields. So you only got ways to keep enemies off you in the form of barricade, electric defense, and you got like your incinerator to detonate them. So I really want a weapon that can be used at all ranges and that can be useful in like niche situations where I want to damage them without actually getting damaged in return. Now, Turret Agent done. So there are certain weapons that allows you to be very useful because they're an archetype that doesn't require you to pick up a certain second mod. So what I mean is, for example, Crusader and the Dun. So the Crusader's a pellet-based weapon, so you can pick up a. So obviously all weapons you pick up barrel. Barrel is the standard, right? Unless you're running very certain specific composition of a build. But Crusader and Dun. So let's talk Crusader. Or I'll talk Crusader when I go into Solarian Operator. But that's Dun. It's a single projectile, so you don't need to pick up Smart Choke. And this allows you to pick up Receiver, and Receiver gives 50% penetration. With Recon Visor, that also gives 50% penetration. You got a weapon that can hit very hard with 100% penetration, and also with an extra 100% headshot or weak shot multiplier. Unload this with Tactical Cloak, and you just hit very hard on anything if you hit them in the head or weak shot, or you just hit very hard in general. And you can see where they are and make as much use as you can with the Receiver mod, which is why I went with Dion. It's just very strong. Obviously with the Asari Duelist, I am using the Scorpion. I did try to use a Scattershot, but obviously I had Scattershot here, and that means I have Scattershot here, so I really did not want to do that, so I opted to use a Scorpion. Now, you can only, or I would only advise to use a shotgun or a pistol, because they are the only weapons that you allow you to use a melee optimizer. And you obviously want that melee damage to hit that threshold where your slash or your melee attack on the duelist will one-shot red shot mooks. So the pistol does have a bit less, but that's why I picked up the Scorpion instead of another pistol, because what you can do is you can shoot, melee, and the blast from that Scorpion will finish them off if your slash doesn't. So it deals damage in the delayed blast, but it still does like 700 or 800, which is significant, right? It's a large amount of damage. And you can still do damage out of cover without aiming, so as you can see, 485, 400 shields. You're not tanky, you only got charge to give you Bastion, which gives you damage resistance. But if you're like hunkering down, like say you just charged a Mook that was about to stop your teammate, you revive the Mook, you revive your teammate, sorry, and then you go into cover waiting for your charge. You can still do damage with Scorpion because you can aim out of cover without exposing yourself, because Scorpion doesn't require aiming or aim down sights. So it's a very nice, well-rounded weapon. You just have to make sure to not have the clip empty when you go into charge melee, otherwise your character will attempt to reload. Anyways, next weapon, next character, Angaran Avenger. Standard weapon, pistol again, because it allows you to use melee enhancer if you wish. It's just a standard playstyle, stealth, Avenger Strike in Stealth Grid and Sticky Grenades. If you upgrade them right, you make it so they have the same amount of power cells, so you use one of each in each engagement, so you top them up exactly the same amount after each battle or when you go to the ammo crates. So yeah, Talon, obviously it's a pseudo shotgun pistol, so it's very good for close range, which obviously would be in a lot with Avenger striking in. So yeah, that's basically it. Now, Solar Operator, Crusader. So as I was talking with it done for the Turing Agent, what the Crusader has that makes it really good in my opinion for the Solarian Operator is you really want to be with a team a lot, but you really want to be with characters that really appreciate the shield boost. So this will be your snipers or other support characters, and a lot of the time they will be at further behind your tanks or like far away as a sniper rifle. So you really want a weapon that can shoot from any range, like from close to long range, and the Crusader does that. You also want a weapon that has a lot of ammo. Now, because the Crusader is like a slug shot, you don't need to pick up Smart Choke, so you can actually pick up the clip size that gives you extra reserve ammo. And the Crusader has 4 shots instead of 3, meaning you can take more shots, and means you can be more lenient if you miss a shot. So it's just a good all-rounded weapon for the Solarian Operator in my opinion, and I've just been using it for it, and I just think it's just very fitting for it. So it's 4 shots over 3, like the Dan or the Yusha or the Ruzad, and the aiming means you don't need to be using a scope, because if you're using a sniper rifle you can't see your peripheral vision, and if you're aiming with a Crusader, you still zoom in, but you're not like zoomed in, and you can see around you, so it's just nice. Obviously with the human kinesis, using the particle assault weapon, pretty standard particle assault weapon to prime, obviously using priming for shielded targets, using full throw for anything unshielded, and just detonations everywhere. It's just standard kinesis playstyle. For the Krogan Gladiator, I opted to use the Hesh. So I was using the Dun to one-shot strip shields if you hit the headshot on Mooks, and this allows you to pull into melee into the Annihilation to 1 melee shotgun. So I'm using the Hesh because I wanted something that's strong at close range, because a lot of time you'll be at close range because you want to melee them inside the Annihilation field. And Hesh actually staggers, and you got so many shots with Hesh, you got 10, so it's a very well-rounded weapon. Obviously you're not going to be as strong as you could be if you're using another weapon that could deal that more reliable damage at long ranges, but you'll be using cover and you'll be using the Annihilation for that shield regeneration, so you'll still be fine. And you just go up to them, Hesh them, which staggers them, and obviously you got pull into melee, so that's the kind of playstyle. I've got some videos on this character if you want to see the playstyle, so you know, just feel free to check them out. Otherwise, you can check out when I do the A to Z videos on all of these characters with all of these weapons listed. And Garen Exemplar, there are also 2 ways to build the Garen Exemplar. I explained this in the how to build your Garen Exemplar video. So 2 ways are, you can either go with a weapon-based priming or power-based priming. Your power-based priming will be either overload to the energy drain or energy drain into overload. Now, I don't have this at rank 10, obviously rank 1, which means I won't have barricade maxed for electric defense, unfortunately. So it's just basically it's just their kind of skill. I don't use barricade much since it's not electric defense upgraded. But yes, energy drain into overload, and I'm using this shadow because it still primes as fast, around about as fast as the paw, but it deals a lot more damage, and you really want to be able to do damage because you really want to kill things inside your detonation to take advantage of that extra 50% power recharge when you kill things inside your detonations. So Shadow is obviously the superior option to Paw if you want to kill stuff. Paw is better if you want to prime them without killing them, which is good for the human kineticist because you can also full throw them or just shoot them and then detonate them with throw to keep the tech field there. Because what happens is, if you use this Shadow as a primer, you may just kill the enemy outright. You may just kill them. So obviously you want to use overloading the energy drain without killing them, because you want the tech field there. Because if you overload and you decided you may want to apply a bit of damage, there's Shadow. it could die from like your own fire or from allies' fire. So you want to do overload into your energy drain, and also if a cool thing you can do is overload, start shooting with the shadow, because the shadow does so much damage. You'll find that the energy drain will kill them if they're shielded target, because overload does extra damage against shields. Shadow, I will use probably disruptor ammo, obviously for priming, and then it will just, the shields will drop really fast, but they'll still be in the stun animation of overload, which means they can still be primed, and if not, your shadow will prime them, but you drop them so much that the detonation from any energy drain will kill it for that boost. Yep, and that's really it, because that's all the characters. I'll be doing obviously a run of all these characters using all these weapons for my A to Z series. That's really it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you guys next time. See ya!